Hi, this is Stacy from the Crazy Outdoor Mama, and today we're going to be making this really beautiful rustic looking camper Christmas wreath. It's going to take a lot of hot glue, but it's going to be really good, and you can kind of decorate it how you want. I added snow and lights, but you can choose what to do when we finish it. I have the materials list in my tutorial, so here we go. First thing you're going to do is print out the template and tape it together. This will help you keep a good shape when you make your wire shape out of it. Tape it all together. And then we're going to go on to actually using the wire. I used kind of a thicker wire, and it is a little bit hard to work with. But you want something really sturdy because this is going to hold all of your decor. It's going to have to be able to hang. So you want it to be pretty strong and sturdy. I used tape to help kind of keep it down, and that made it a lot easier to shape the rest of it. Now, the end, when you crimp it and you cut it and you wrap it, it's going to be a little bit hard. I actually bled a little bit on this one, but just do the best you can. It's going to be covered with the burlap, and no one will see it anyways. So you want to take that off. And then you're going to get ready to add this little bar in the middle. It helps a lot with stability, and actually it looks a lot better too. I did a version of this wreath without it, and it didn't look as good. So you're just going to measure out roughly what it's going to be. You're going to make a little hook on both sides of it, and once you get it in roughly the right spot, just kind of clamp it down flat. So we're on to the burlap. I just cut a little strip that was about the size of my thumbnail. It doesn't have to be exact. I lay down, you just lay down some glue, some hot glue, and then you wrap it around at kind of an angle. You can make it as loose or as tight as you want. A loose look makes the border look thicker, obviously. So you're going to want to do that around the whole top and the middle bar. And the bottom, we're going to do the same thing, but now with the brown burlap. Or tan, probably what you're more used to seeing. Wrap it all the way around. Just don't put the glue too far ahead of time. It does dry fast. And I only put the hot glue on the top portion of the wire. So once you're done with that, you're going to cut it there at the end, glue it down. And if you want to, trim as much as you want. It is going to fray a little bit. So depending on how much of a rustic look you want, keep as much as you want. I don't want it too long. I felt like it was kind of distracting. Now we're adding the backing. You can start to see it come together. So I had a ribbon form, but you might get like a sheet form. Just lay down the glue and then put it on top. Remember, this is actually going to be on the back of it. You have to put it on top of the back because you want that border to show on the front. So put the glue on the back and do sections at a time, or else it will dry too fast and it might not stick. Make sure to put the hot glue on the other piece of fabric. If you have to use multiple pieces to cover your area, you want to make sure you glue everything down, because if you're going to have this outside, you don't want it to get messed up or blown in the wind and get torn. So once you have everything glued down, you want to cut off all that remaining. I just kind of did my scissors at an angle so that it would be nice and tight against the border. I didn't really want any hanging out. And you want to do the same by that divider bar. So now you have the top done, and we're moving on to the fancy schmancy glitter. I love it. I did a version without it, and it actually looked kind of boring. So I wanted to add some Christmas pizzazz to it. This is going to be the same idea as the first one. You attach it to the back, lay the layer of glue down, put it on top. I burned my finger a couple of times during this. So that's why you see me using the scissors there. So looks like just finished gluing. This part's pretty easy. This part doesn't matter as much because it's see-through. So, you can make little mistakes here and there, and it won't matter that much. Next up, after you cut off all the remaining, you are going to have the burlap. I just got a sheet of burlap. It was a little easier to find in sheets as opposed to the green. I found it easier to cut roughly the right size, so I wasn't working with such a large amount of fabric. Same thing as the green and the shiny. You're just going to put a little bit of glue down, secure the area, and put more glue down until you finish the rest of it. And then just the same as before, we're going to go around once it's all nice and glued, and we are going to cut off all that extra fabric. Make sure you cut off the portion by the top where it overlaps with the green. I leave just enough to glue, which you probably have already glued it, but it just looks kind of bad to have that in the background. So you want to make sure that you cut that extra off behind the green top. Let's see. So once you have it nice and cleaned up, we are going to go on to making our door and our window. Definitely use the templates because the proportions might not be right if you just try and do it yourself. The door, the window, and the wheel. So use your fabric of choice. I liked this striped one. It looked kind of candy cane-ish and holiday Christmassy. So my ribbon was not wide enough to make the whole door. So I just cut off that edge because it was kind of bulky. And then I match up the pattern so that it looks like it's all one. And then I glue it together to roughly the same width as the door. As you can see, same as before, don't apply this glue too much because it takes a little bit of extra time to match up the pattern. I cut the part out, but I actually had to go back and peel off a bunch of glue. And this portion you see was only a little bit of me peeling off that glue, so don't do it too far ahead because that took a lot of time to peel off that glue. So then I make the lines even, make it rounded. It just looks a little more doorish. Same for the windows. I chose to make the pattern go a different way, but your pattern might be different than mine. Also, if you're looking for this pattern, I did link to the closest thing I could find in my products list at the end of the tutorial. I found this particular ribbon at Kmart because they had an awesome closing sale. And there's materials I found at Michael's. So you're going to glue those in place to make it match how the template looked, which isn't too hard. There's not that much space you have to worry about trying to put it in. So next is the wheel. I just used the burlap, and then I just copied the shape of the wheel. I colored it in with Sharpie. You could experiment with other materials. I tried felt. To me, it didn't look good. The texture just didn't look good with the burlap. It didn't look rustic like how I wanted it to look. But you could get some actual wool felt. I really wanted to get that. I didn't have black though, so that's something you could try. So now we are on to making our hanger. We're almost there, guys. You want to make little hooks on the edges to kind of hook behind the top of the camper. And then once you get it in the right spot, you just kind of clamp it down so that it stays. Now don't worry, we're not done yet. We want to make it match the rest of the theme here. So we're going to wrap it with the burlap too. I chose to use the bottom color. I feel like it kind of brings that color back up and makes it even. So same idea, but here you might want to use a little extra glue. I actually did glue both sides in some parts. I knew this would be taking a little more wear and tear just because it's going to be, hanging from there and rubbing and all that kind of stuff. So I did use a little extra glue here. And I made sure to end the burlap over where I hooked it over so you could not see any metal at all. Cut out all the extra stuff because I think it's kind of distracting, but of course you can leave it how you want it. And there you go. It's all done. It looks great. Thanks for watching.